will present very new research for myself even, not just for you, but also for me, because I have worked so far mostly on econometric impact evaluations, and now for PhenoRob, I am going to start to get into modeling, basically, because the issue is, of course, we don't have so much empirical data on these innovations yet. And for that reason, we try to take a machine learning kind of modeling approach. Yeah, so that's the topic is called modeling the profitability of agriculture innovation at the global level. And this actually has a very long tradition in agricultural economics. So I found this article from the 1960s from Zvi Grilliches, who is quite a famous economist. And sorry, okay. So what he has been doing was he tried to explain the diffusion of hybrid corn in the US. And the big question for him was how much you can explain the diffusion with the profitability. Profitability in different, for different actors in different aspects. So the profitability of developing these. So there's a lot of research going on before you have these hybrids, but then also of the people who diffuse them, and then of course the farmers who have to make the choice to adopt them. And he published a couple of articles, and this one I think was really innovative, because what he looked at is, if you look at these maps, how these new varieties spread in the US. So they started at a very small place in the Midwest, and then they spread basically to all the surrounding areas. And he found that this was really explained by profitability. So the places where this was most profitable, they started the first, the speed of the diffusion was the fastest, and also diffusion was the most complete. So what I want to do now is to do something very similar, a couple of decades later, just in a slightly more updated way than what he did, because now we have other methods available, other data available. So science has progressed a little bit since the 1960s. And I want to focus not on hybrid varieties, but I want to focus on these high-tech innovations, especially those that we see in PhenoRob, things like drones, robots, high-resolution maps where farmers learn where they should apply, how much of an input, all these innovations. So, of course, profits are not everything. I'm not saying that farmers are only looking at the profit of an innovation. There are a lot of other things that we should take into account, and people have done a lot of research on these. So, of course, risks, if adoption of an innovation is risky, it's not that attractive for a farmer maybe. Matched to preferences and culture and personality. Some farmers might be more worried about environmental consequences of their management, so they're more likely to adopt something, even if it is not super profitable, but simply because they feel if they can afford it, it's nice that they do it. And then we have all these network effects. So if you have already experience amongst your friends, your peers, maybe you can learn something that helps you to adopt. Or maybe you're even influenced by people, that people say, hey, you should adopt this innovation. So all of these things matter a lot, but profitability to me is really a logical starting point before we do basically anything else. Because I think in economic theory, we start with profitability. That's the foundation. And then if we see, okay, profitability does not really explain something, then we turn to something else. We say, okay, somebody has adopted this innovation, even though it is not profitable. So what could explain that? So that's basically the anomaly. But a big driving factor of the diffusion of innovations is profitability. And just what this Zvi Grilliches did in 1960, this is what we try to do for these innovations that we are now seeing to spread. Just that we don't want to do it for a specific location, but we want to do it globally. We really take the big view on this, and we want to see the larger pattern. We want to focus on different kinds of innovations, going from relatively low tech to absolutely high tech innovations. And we want to see at the global level, where are things profitable? And then at a later point, we can connect this to the diffusion, and also where we see opportunities for policy to support this. So in these maps here, these are from the 1960 article. You see on the left the profitability, and then on the right you see the diffusion, and you see it's basically 1-to-1. It's very, very striking how closely these two maps connect. In the 1960s, you could just visualize, compare those maps and make a good argument. Even though Svík actually did quite an advanced econometric analysis on top of that, because he was quite a technical economist already for his time. And we will do this, of course, with real state-of-the-art econometric techniques that are now state-of-the-art in 2023. All right, so what we need for that is actually quite a lot of data. And the first thing that we're now doing, and we have almost finished, we are now starting the pilot phase of this today, is that we have created a web app where we ask experts all around the world to provide us with training points for a machine learning algorithm. Because how we will create these maps is we will use machine learning techniques, and they need training points. And to get these training points, we have created this web app where we ask experts to locate on a global map locations where they know that a certain innovation is already used. And we ask them questions like, is it profitable? And a couple of other questions. And I can show you the current status. The web app changes every day so far, but this is the current version that we will now use for the pilot testing. So on the left side, you see the couple of questions that we're asking. Then on the map, it is a world map, but you zoom in. So you can really, if you like, you can put points on specific fields if you like. And so what people provide us are these points and then information about these points. And then below the map, you see a table. And that table is generated. That shows the data that the people have provided to us. So it's the locations and the answers. And all of that, if you click submit, we get that as an Excel file in a cloud storage. And over time, we will have thousands of those coordinates where in the world certain innovations are profitable and some other information. We use these data that we collected, and we will train a machine learning algorithm, and which one exactly depends on especially the kind of data that we get. So there are different alternatives like random forest or maximum entropy, various others, and they all have certain advantages and disadvantages, but this depends a lot on the kind of data that you get. So we will maybe model different innovations with different algorithms. Especially, there might be a difference between the high-tech and the low-tech innovations. And also kind of software here, I'm just showing the screenshot of Google Earth Engine. Google Earth Engine provides a lot of computational resources and also allows to directly model these things there. So this shows random forest. You cannot read that, it's too small, but it's random forest algorithm to create a global map based on training points. But this can also be done in R quite nicely. Okay, the important thing then is what kind of predictor variables do we use? Because the way that this approach works is that the model sees coordinates with information. To keep it simple, let's just say we have 2,000 points around the world, and we see these are locations where the use of a drone to apply pesticides is currently profitable. And then we overlay these points with a lot of geospatial data. These could be anything that's spatially explicit. Could be the policies of the country in which that point is located. But it could also be something in really high resolution, like the kind of crop that's grown there, infrastructure, rainfall, topography, temperature, anything that might explain why a certain innovation could be profitable there. Pest pressure for something with pesticides. So we overlay all of this, and then the machine learning algorithm has to learn which kinds of variables predict the profitability of the innovation. And once it understood that, it can extrapolate and create a global map. So these are just examples of spatial data that we might use as a predictor. So all our data has to be in the form basically of a map, but the resolution can change. So something might only vary at the level of a country. It's still spatially explicit, it's just not high resolution. And a lot of data is better in high resolution just to make it more reliable. Okay, so then how do we create a global map? This is exactly the extrapolation of the machine learning algorithm, and we might get something like that. This map does not show the profitability of an agricultural innovation. This is actually a high-resolution version of the Human Development Index, but has been created in a similar extrapolation way. So this is how a map might look like later. So maybe we show this kind of map and show this is the global distribution of the profitability of a certain innovation. And then in the next step, we can also connect this to other global maps, basically. For example, we can connect the profitability of innovations to environmental and social issues. For example, we can say we have a map of global nitrogen balances in the landscape. There are places with a lot of nitrogen surpluses. So if we have an innovation that can reduce nitrogen surpluses, precision agriculture, maps that show farmers exactly how much nitrogen to apply where, and then high precision tools to apply nitrogen exactly according to those maps, maybe even with drones or something, we can connect the profitability of those innovations to these environmental issues. And we can see maybe that there are places where the innovations are close to being profitable and they would have a huge societal impact. That would mean we can have a policy that supports this, and that policy might be really, really effective in reducing this environmental issue. This could be a subsidy or a training program, technical support, whatever might be the exact policy. But we can see with these maps hotspots where certain policy interventions would be the most beneficial. So that would be the last point. So you can see this is quite a big research agenda and will probably be based on multiple articles. It's unlikely that we put all of this into the same article, but it all fits quite nicely together. And this is completely new in agricultural economics. Agricultural economics has not used this before. This is quite often that a certain technique starts in one discipline and then just diffuses over time to other disciplines. We had this within the field of economics, that certain things started in labor economics and then just diffused to all the other fields. This kind of creating global maps with machine learning, I think it has been really early in ecology. People mapped biodiversity and some other environmental variables with this approach. And then also in epidemiology. For example, former colleague of mine at ETH has used this a lot to map the prevalence of antibiotic resistance, which is a really nice example because you only have very small points of veterinary services and they record whether there's antimicrobial resistance. And this comes mostly from the overuse of antibiotics. So many farmers use antibiotics just in general when they raise animals, and this creates a lot of resistance. And then you would like to have a global map, but you don't have global consistent data. You just have these points. So with machine learning, you can extrapolate and create a global map where you see exactly where the resistance is most likely to be. Or on the map on the left, I'm showing biodiversity intactness. That's the same thing. We have point measurements all over the world of biodiversity or species occurrences, but we don't have a globally consistent map just from measurements. But you can use a machine learning approach and then extrapolate so you get a consistent global map where you see the bigger pattern. And yeah, our idea is that now we bring this to agricultural economics and specifically here for these innovations. And I think these maps will be useful for a variety of applications. This will be probably the profitability will explain a lot of adoption. But also what I mentioned before, it can also just directly drive policy recommendations. Yeah, and what I also mentioned already in the beginning, we are now just pilot testing this. So we will today send this at least to Cyril and Heiner to get some feedback if you have ideas how to improve it, or if you think it works fine. We will send this also to colleagues in industry and from different countries just to see if this app at the moment really makes sense to everybody, if it's intuitive, if it's fun to use. So also for you, if you have any special information about profitability of innovation, just send us an email. Either we just talk to you, or maybe you're even included in the survey then later. So we're very happy to get in touch with everybody. Yeah, just showing here my group so far. So we are 2 postdocs, and then it's not even complete. Sorry, the team is not complete. It was updated since I made these slides. We're now 2 postdocs and 7 PhDs and a long list of research assistants. So we were all working on this more or less. And yeah, please get in touch if you want to talk about these things with us. Yeah, thank you very much.